Okay, so looking at example number 4 here, we're going to interpret some inverse functions. And this is a good example because it gives you an actual real world example of what an inverse function could look like and what the use of it could be. So for example, a formula for converting a temperature in degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius is T of x equals 5/9 x minus 32. Okay, so you take your temperature in Fahrenheit, you subtract 32, and then you multiply by 5/9. So let's say it's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit out. Then we take away 32, we're at 68. We divide that by 9, and we multiply it by 5. So we get something, well, 68 divided by 10 would be 6.8. So divided by a little bit less, we should get something a little bit more than 7. And then multiplying 7 times 5 would be like 35. I think I did that mental math right. So like 100 degrees Fahrenheit would be roughly 35 degrees Celsius. For my own curiosity, now I have to check. Okay, pretty close. Yep. So that's kind of our situation there. Now, if you know that the freezing point is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, then you can see that 32 Fahrenheit corresponds to 0 degrees Celsius. So 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point in Celsius. We want to find the inverse of this function and describe its meaning. So hopefully, just off the bat, you should understand that the inverse of this function would just be that instead of putting in Fahrenheit to figure out Celsius, it would be for people in the rest of the world who are trying to go from Celsius to Fahrenheit, who are going the opposite direction. So they're going to need some sort of rule in their head to say, how do I get to that weird American notation, Fahrenheit degrees, that nobody else uses? Well, we're going to come up with the equation that'll help those guys out. Sure, they need our help on that kind of stuff. So replace the t of x with y. So we're going to put y here. We're going to exchange our x and our y. We now have our inverse relationship. We just need to solve for y. So we multiply by 9/5 on both sides. That gives us y minus 32. And then we just add that 32 to both sides. Okay, so for some no good, nefarious European who's over there on the other side of the ocean wondering, how do I get to Fahrenheit? We could tell them, well, it's easy. You're just going to take your little weird Celsius number. You're going to multiply it by 9. You're going to divide it by 5. And then you're going to add 32. Basically, you're just going to do the opposite steps that we do. Rather than subtracting 32, then multiplying by 5 and dividing by 9, you're going to multiply by 9, divide by 5, and add 32. Okay, so you'll just do all the opposite steps, and that'll get you back to our wonderful Fahrenheit. Let's look what else is on the page down here. I think it'll just kind of summarize what we just did. T inverse of x can be used to convert a temperature in degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. Yep, exactly what we were saying. All right, so that is all for example number 4.